Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us to Cyber Talk number 4, Cyber series of cyber-related lectures by top professional and expert from the cyber domain around the world. And today I have the honor to have with us Dr. Eyal Pinko. Dr. Pinko, Commander retired Dr. Eyal Pinko from the Navy, served in the Israeli Navy for 23 years, during those in operational, technological, and intelligence duties. He served for almost 5 more years as the head of Operational Intelligence Division at the Prime Minister Office, civilian rank equal to Rear Admiral. He is graduate of the National Senior Intelligence Course and other intelligence training courses. Eyal participated in hundreds of military intelligence operations and led the cooperation with many foreign countries and agencies. He holds Israel's Security Awards, Prime Minister Declaration of Excellence, DDR&D Declaration of Excellence, and the IDF Commander-in-Chief Declaration of Excellence. Eyal was a senior consultant for more than 2 years at the Israel National Cyber Directorate. Eyal has been a keynote speaker in different events in the field of cyber, intelligence, and strategy. He's a senior researcher in several international think tanks and published more than 200 articles in English and Hebrew. Eyal holds a bachelor degree with honor in electronics engineering and 3 master's degrees with honor in political science, international relationships, management, and organizational development. Eyal holds a PhD degree from the Bar-Ilan University in Defense and Security Studies. He is the head of the Cyber and Intelligence Program for a master's degree. In the last 20 years, Eyal devoted himself to promote leadership and management skills and led different community and business leadership programs. Eyal is a partner in the last 3 years at WeFound, company focused on developing startup and innovation in Israel. Well, I am the host, master of the ceremony, Tal Pavel, and thank you, Dr. Pinko, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
The lecture of Dr. Pinko will be The New Age of Cyberterrorism and National Security. I will give you, of course, the host privilege. Yes, you are the host now. You can present.
Great. Good. Is it okay? Good. So thank you very much, Tal. Thank you very much for hosting me here. And thank you for those who joined us in this morning, in this rainy morning and very romantic morning here in Israel. So let's start, and I will go on with those issues. So what are you going to speak today? I'm going to speak a little bit about terror, and to connect terror to cyber, and to inspect and to see what is the new age of terror, how terror change is faced using cyberspace, especially the abilities and capabilities of the terror organizations in order to perform the new acts or new operations of terror. And I would like to start with that in a case from we had this week in Vienna, a terror attack performed by ISIS operator. ISIS took responsibility for this attack and thoroughly said it's 4 people killed over there, and our sorrow and condolences for that. So let's speak about terror. What is terror? So if I will try to define terror in the academic way, in the simplest definition, not going into sophisticated or just as simple as I can. So when we speak about terror, terror is a violent struggle against civilians. If it's not against civilians, if it's against military personnel, so military infrastructure, it won't be terror, it will be guerrilla warfare or irregular operations, as we say it in the modern definitions. It is the purpose of that is political and social, and in the next slide I will elaborate more about the purposes of why is terror over there. And it's being performed by non-state actors. This is the academic definition, but we see those days that even countries, even state nations are performing, using other organizations, are performing terror attacks. So terror, it's also performed by states or by their people that are standing to be in front of that. And so why terror? What are the roots of terror? There are many reasons of why organizations are being established in order to perform terror attacks. One of the reasons is ethnic reasons. For example, in Tanzania, for example, the Kurds performing terror attacks against governments, because of ethnic reasons. The second reason is because of the will to make a governmental change. For example, it's the IRA in Ireland, North Ireland, the Red Brigade in Italy, and other examples. It can be religious purposes, Hamas, for example, in the Gaza Strip. It can be from political and economical reasons, like ISIS. ISIS, by the way, the purpose of ISIS, or the root of establishment of ISIS, it's all about money. It's all about gaining money, gaining control, and put that inside an envelope of religious, of radical Islam. But at the heart of ISIS, there are only economical reasons. This is the root of ISIS. The other reasons can be as a proxy, as I said before, like Iran is using Hezbollah and the Yemen Houthis in order to perform terror attacks, in order to make a war without war, or how the Chinese call it, the non-contact warfare, which means they are using other means in order to perform a terror attack. And the last and not least reason of why performing a terror is social reasons, mainly for poorness. And I think that there may be the best way to make an example for that is the story of Robin Hood, which was the first, maybe the story about terror because of poorness. So what are the characteristics of the New Age terror? First, we can divide the New Age of terror into three main areas. First are the radicalized, and I will speak about everything in a minute. Second are the lone wolves, like the attack was committed in Vienna. And the third one is the cyber, and I will elaborate a lot about that in the next slides. So let's start with the radicalized. I will just go through that very fast in order to go to the cyber issue. So radicalized are mainly being manipulated by psychological pressure, about group pressure, and by that they are being motivated to go to make an terror attack in the name of God or pure justice. It's not only from because of the name of God or religious purposes. It's also because or by the pure justice, like for example, white power, black power, what we see a lot in the US in the last years. So it's not only religious; it also can be some kind of other pure justice they see. And speaking about radicalized people, there's the use of the internet and networks and social media is a very important tool in order to get them more motivated, to make the pressure on them, to make them believe in the cause, and it makes them to go to commit their act. So we see a lot of examples like that. For example, Anonymous, which is attacking democracies in the West world on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, part of being or putting their agenda in front in order to mock the West world and the democracies. And we see a lot of those you can find in Facebook and in other social media, open social media. You can find a lot of materials calling for jihad, calling for performing a radical Muslim attack. And this became very popular in the last years. The second one is the lone wolf. The lone wolf, once again, like the issue with Vienna, it's a man or a woman coming up in the morning, waking up in the morning, one morning, and they decide to act. They are having a process of radicalized inside of them. They are being very influenced by material they're getting in social media, from the internet, in mosques and in other places. And one morning, they decide to act. It's based upon a long journey they have concerning their faith, their belief, their long journey of the pure justice. And in the morning, they are coming up and committing suicide or doing the act of terror. The problem with that is that in the Western world, or the victims of those lone wolves, is to identify who are they, personally, individually, and when they will act, how they will going to act, where they do it. In the old world, in the old terrorism, speaking about terror, you have intelligence, you're gathering intelligence, you understand about your enemies or your adversaries, and you are starting to understand what networks of terror they are acting. In this case, there are no signs. A guy come up in the morning and boom, goes to do his job or his mission as he sees it. And just for a few numbers, you can see that the FBI in the US is investing more than 1,000 suspects of lone wolf militants, terrorists. The number of them, the potential of them, is very big in Europe, all over Europe, in the US, in Israel also. So we understand, and we saw lots of incidents like that. In Paris, we saw a few incidents. In Austria, in Belgium, in Brussels, and in the US, we see lots of incidents like that are coming, and after being radicalized, they are coming up and committing suicide or doing their mission, as I said before. But as you can see here, an example for a case in 2016, Muslim police officer from the New York Police Department is getting up in the morning and is going to kill people, to murder people. And I think that the most important thing is that they are never quite alone. We speak about this phenomenon as they are alone, but they're never alone. And just to, who are they? Those lone wolves. Those lone wolves most of them are men. 85% of them are men between the age of 18 to 35. As I said, they are modified by deep faith or racism, like black power, white power. It's very difficult to detect and preempt about them. And but before they are committing suicide or going to do the terror act, they start to behave very strange, very different from their normal behavior. They shave their beards, they start to commit some kind of ceremonies before that, and they start to post their intention on social media. But the problem that in social media, to detect this kind of strange behavior or something that is happening, this is very hard to do. But another thing with that is that always somebody knows about this event or what their intentions are. So this is something very important for security services to detect some kind of posts or tweets on the social media that they're going to do. And what motivates those lone wolves? A lot of group pressure concerning radical beliefs or religious, motivating by their own beliefs that something is wrong. They can change the world. They can change the situation, and by doing that, they can change the face of humanity. This is for the first part. The second part can go to deep feelings of revenge. They're being rejected by their families or by their society. They feel lonely, or they're being mocked by others. The rejection and the revenge feelings are a very crucial motivation for those people. So this was the radicalized and the lone wolves, just in order to take us into the big breach or the big issue of cyber, and to connect cyber to terrorism. So the world we know is changing very fast, and surprisingly, everything, let's speak about the last half a year. All our lives just became upside down. Everything was changed amazingly. And the uncertainty is the new game. Everything is changed, as I said, and the world, especially in 2020, the node union is no longer exist. And then in the new world, what is the most important is the information that became more and more vital, the information, the data, and globalization that connects everything and connects us all, become the most important thing that drives economies, drive countries, drive the sovereignty of countries, and it makes the world look like absolutely different. And we are in the world of cyber, and a lot of times I'm asking people, what is cyber? What cyber means? And I got a lot of different answers for that. People say to me, okay, I have children in school. My children are in school, and in schools where they are studying cyber. So what is cyber? They are being taught how to build application and they're studying more mathematics. This is cyber. And the common answers that I'm getting is cyber is attacking, or cyber is defending. But what cyber is? Cyber is really the heart of network. Cyber comes from the Latin word of kybernetics, which means network, and we are dealing with networks. So cyber is the art of networks, we are all connecting in one big network that connects lot of small networks and other networks, of course. So the cyber is the art of networks. It comes off, or it's built on and based upon three elements. One is the hardware that we use, our cell phones, laptops, cables, screens, printers, everything that allows us to connect, to use the second dimension, which is the software, or the operational system that we use, the application, the software, everything that we use in order to receive information, to transfer information. So this is the second dimension. But I think that the most important thing, or the most important dimension in cyber, which we tend to forget, is the dimension of us, is the human beings that we are using the cyber. And we say a lot of time that, especially in Israel, that Israel is the cyber nation, we control the cyber. But I think that if we will look at the solutions that we give or we bring to the table concerning cyber, we bring only about, or most of them, dealing with the hardware and the software, and we forget that the humanity is the most important link in the cyber, and it's the easiest link to crack, and it's the most vulnerable part in this chain of cyber, especially when we'll speak about cybersecurity. And using cyber, we are at the new age or new era of warfare, which is the cyber warfare, and I will connect it to terrorism in a few minutes. So what really is cyber warfare? If I would like to have a definition what cyber warfare is, the cyber warfare is the struggle for data, looking in a very broad aspect, which means that we want to shut down, to control, to disturb our opponent information system. We want to exploit his systems, his information in order to get intelligence about him. This is first one, or to make something else. Next time I will elaborate some more about that. Or while that we want to defend our own systems and own information. So this is the simplest definition I can find about what is cyber warfare. And when we speak about cyber warfare, we speak about different types of adversaries, about opponents. At the old days, we spoke only about states and terror organizations as our adversaries. In Israel, we understand we have Hamas, we have Hezbollah. We saw our enemies, what we see in the eyes or in the white in their eyes, and we pretty much understood. When we speak about cyber domain, criminals are also our adversary, also if we are states. First, because terror organizations as also criminal wing. They are all using criminals in order to bring money to put more efforts in their terror capabilities. For example, one of the biggest drug organizations in the South America is Hezbollah and Iran. So they are using drugs. They are drug dealers in South America, and this drug dealing helps them to bring more money to live and to make their terror acts going well. So criminals and terror organizations these days are pretty much connected to each other. We speak about adversaries, they are anarchists that they want to influence, to bring their own opinion, to influence leaders, countries, and other like the Anonymous that I mentioned before. We have the amateurs, those 16, 17 years old guys that are, instead of going to sleep, they are sitting near the computer and just trying to crack and to hack other systems just because they can, and they are motivating themselves as a challenge to breach into other networks. And of course, the biggest, I think, this is my opinion, the biggest threat to networks and to organizations are the insiders, or the insider threat, which are the employees or part of the supply chain organizations they have the ability to access the organizational network, the organizational infrastructure. They know the abilities, they understand the limitation of the organization, and by that they can or they can commit attack on the organization. Of course, they can be divided into two parts. First are the innocent, that they're falling into a social engineering attack. They're pressing the wrong link because they didn't put attention, they didn't understand, they were too innocent, they wanted to help someone, but they're falling into the trap, and they're letting the hacker or the attacker to go inside the organizations by that. Or it can be the other group of insiders that want to get revenge in the organization. They didn't get promoted or some other reason, and now they want to attack, or just to make industrial espionage before they are going to another organization, before they're leaving their jobs. And when we speak about this domain of cyber and those adversaries, we speak about different types of weapons. And when we use to say in the old times that we use sophisticated and very, very expensive weapons, sometimes even exclusive one. When we speak about the cyber domain, we speak about very cheap, most of them are even free tools, weapons, very easy to get. And pretty much every one of us can get use of that and can get his hands on cyber tools. So just as a whole definition of cyber warfare, when I speak about cyber warfare, I will speak about many types of warfare, not only attacking and exploit, as most of the people will say. First, the main issue of cyber and how cyber warfare was established during the 80s, last century, by the US was influenced in the 80s the US performed psychological warfare. This was the previous name of that. Influence campaign, what we call that today, in order to use the cyber, in order to use networks, the internet, to influence leaders, to influence people. And just look what is happening in the last 2 days or so in the US concerning about influence using social media. President Trump is accusing the other opponent is accusing Biden and China and Russia and Iran by influencing the election process, influencing the election, not only process but also the what is coming out of there. So this is the basic form of cyber warfare. Of course, there is forms of attack in order to shut down or disturb systems, organizations, and even states. And I will speak about it when I will speak in a few minutes about terror. And exploit, which means to gather information, intelligence about your opponents for many reasons. It can use for attack and it can use for other purposes. But there are also the uses of cyber for electronic warfare, which means the use of cyber for military purposes. It's a big change in concept. It's a big change of how the new age of the physical warfare will be, with maneuver of militaries using missiles, drones, and other measures. So cyber is also influencing militaries that are not based only on one component, but they're spread all over and using networks in order to communicate, in order to command and control. And it also being affected a lot the use of warfare. And last but not least is crime. The changing face of crime, not only by stealing information and gathering information from websites, like from attacking PayPal or other big networks, shop networks. It also by using the darknet, and I will bring some examples of darknet here in my presentation. But the use of the darknet in order to sell drugs, women, weapon, everything that you want to sell and buy. For example, passports, identities, everything is done on the darknet without being revealed, and the ability to stay anonymous in the darknet, which is absolutely a topic for different presentation. Crime has changed its face, and I said that crime and terror are pretty much together those days, and let's dive into that. So what is cyberterrorism? I said that the new age of terror is, from one hand, is radicalized people, lone wolves, and the third one is cyberterrorism. So what is cyberterrorism? When I speak about cyberterrorism, I will speak about the use of networks in order to do cyber attacks or cyber intelligence. So I will speak about few dimensions of cyberterrorism. I will speak about propaganda and the use of that to influence others. I will speak about how terrorists are communicating, not using their cell phones, but using darknet and other means. I will speak about in the next minutes. About fundraising. The new cyberterrorism is speaking about recruitment and training of people, of the new terrorists in the networks. Of course, about intelligence gathering, and last but not least, cyber attacks. So let's dive in. The first one is propaganda and psychological warfare. And as I said, the psychological warfare influence campaigns. This is the modern world of psychological warfare. Is really a battlefield, how to influence mind, how to influence people, and to influence decision makers, and by that to get your own missions, or to achieve your own missions for that. And part of that, of course, is to put anxiety and fear in the society, and to motivate society by the fear they have from the psychological warfare efforts or from the influence campaigns. You can see here lots of examples for Iran and other caricatures that they're being used, but we can see really, for example, lots of examples of pro-Palestinians and other hackers that breached Israeli websites, a lot of them in order to influence, about to put fear and anxiety in the Israeli society. Sorry. By the way, one of the amazing things that happened during the COVID-19, during the age of the coronavirus, that the breaches of websites became in enormous amounts. Just for the numbers, 2019, in the average breaches or average attacks per day during 2019 was something like 3 million attacks. During the coronavirus, which all these are, of course, attacks that are being identified. It's not saying that it was successful or not, but attacks. During the coronavirus month, something like from April to July, the critical one, the amount of attacks, the cyber attacks raised to 16, 17 millions per day. It's a large amount of attacks meant really to not only to steal information and to shut down hospitals and the healthcare system, also to put fear and anxiety in the hearts of the human society. Another trying to influence, as I said, to election system. It's not only in the US, it's also in Germany and Israel and in France, in the UK, especially during the process of the yes or no go to Brexit. So we saw lots of examples of terror groups trying to manipulate and to influence countries by that. You can see different examples like ISIS websites. You can see Hezbollah in Lebanon, which I think it's a very special case because Hezbollah use a lot in the media, his website, social media, Facebook, Twitter, and other means in order to first to promote himself among the society in Lebanon, but not only that, but also to promote fear and anxiety in the Israeli society, in the Israeli military, to show their strengths, to make deterrence against Israel. So you can see here lots of websites, like for example, websites, and they used a lot of social media as a terror organization in order to promote their beliefs and the other things that I said. So you can see on the Israeli websites, you can see websites that celebrate and promote people, the leaders and the important people in the organization, which are not undercover, of course. And by the perception of Hezbollah is not only putting or doing only terror acts, they're also promoting and helping the society in Lebanon, that they will hug them and they will be their shield against Israeli attacks. So by that, they are promoting welfare and social services, not only for Hezbollah operative, but also to the Lebanese society. And you can see here, for an example, the El Manar news channels of Hezbollah, the formal one, not only used for the news and to promote news and other features, but also it's promote the healthcare system, the social services, the culture, the religious, in order to strengthen the society that, as I said, hug them, and they're real shield of Hezbollah. You can see also in Facebook, this is the Facebook of Hassan Nasrallah, the chief of Hezbollah, and you can allegedly communicate with him on his Facebook to send messages, and you can see what is publishing. Everything is in the open source. Of course, the operative themselves, the uncovered one, are very not easy to detect. detect to understand who they are. They're not connecting through these Facebook straight. Another example is it's also website, the Electronic Resistance, another website of Hezbollah to promote their influence about society, internal in Lebanon, internal in internal way in Hezbollah, but also externally to show Iran, to show Israel, and to show Europe in other what they are doing, and also, of course, to the US. So this was the first part of cyber terrorism. The second part is the secret communication. Use the network in order to communicate secretly. In the old days, in order to communicate, terrorists took cell phones, what we call burners, prepaid cell phones, and they use the prepaid cell phones in order to communicate, calling each other, and then throw the cell phone, buying another one, etc., etc. But why to bother? And you know, if you're doing that, you can see here, for example, how security services, intelligence services are just taking these burners or prepaid cell phones. They can connect who they are in the network, and by that you can easily understand who is who in this network, and to understand who are the forces that are being over there in this terror organization. But in the new capabilities, it's not new, but in the pretty new capabilities of darknet, you don't need to expose yourself. You can use your own cell phone or your own tablet or your own laptop, just going on the Tor system, going inside the darknet, and just use free chat rooms. And you can see here, this is a page taken out, or this is a print screen taken out of darknet. You can see here, for example, ISIS chat rooms. You can go into the chat room. You are absolutely anonymous. Nobody knows who you are, from where do you connect, to whom do you connect. And by going to those chat rooms, you can easily move information from side to side. Nobody can track you. Nobody can understand what you are sending and who you are. Everything is absolutely anonymous. And another example for that is I will call it the Facebook page of ISIS in the darknet. This is absolutely from darknet. And here, of course, you can communicate, get information, get a lot of things. And I will show a few examples in a minute about what you can do absolutely anonymous in darknet. So you don't need to get exposed. Nobody can track yourself and the network you belongs to. And it's very easy to connect and communicate as a terror organization member. Another possibility to communicate, and security services in the West world detected a few years ago that terrorists are using PlayStation in order to communicate. They are just go inside the game. They're inside the gaming, they're chatting with each other. It's a game. Nobody understands it. Of course, it's encrypted. Nobody understands that if you are playing race cars or I don't know what in PlayStation, everything that now can be open to you, and you can chat without anyone, the ability of any security services or intelligence services to detect you. So this is about communication. Second part or third part, sorry, it's the fundraising. They need the terror organization needs a lot of money, and the use of campaigns, electronics campaigns in networks, in social media, help those organizations to bring money to the organization in order to buy weapons, to buy what they need. This is an example for Jihad for Allah campaign meant to raise money for Jihad in 2016, and we can find, and also just Google things like that, and you can find lots of websites and social media that you can over there you can raise money for Jihad and for radical Islam, white power, black power. It's not only for radical Islam. And by the money that you can get over there, of course, it's not just the money for the senior or management or the senior leadership of the terror organization. It's also meant to buy weapons, and you can find lots of measures to how to buy weapons. For example, this page is from Darknet. This is a website in Darknet that you can buy over there weapons, from knives and very simple measures to guns, pistols, armament, ammunition, everything. You can just buy everything. Everything is anonymous in this, of course, Darknet. So you can buy the shipment. You can get the shipment all over the world to anonymous post box, and you can get your arms. So just imagine, you don't need to go to black markets. You just need to go into your tablet and your cell phone, buy weapons in Darknet, and by that move the weapons by containers and other stuff that was revealed in order to make the weapon shipments. This is another example from Darknet, how to buy spare parts for M16. So everything is open. You can just buy weapons. You don't need to find the right guy in the street that is selling weapons. You just go to Darknet, and by that buy weapons. The next phase of cyberterrorism is recruitment and training. Lots of recruitment is being done, as I showed you before, about how to be radicalized, and to bring jihadic materials and to make you fascinated about the ability to be united again with God. And you can see lots of channels in YouTube, in Facebook, and other means that are absolutely open source, calling people to come to become terrorists and to act and to do jihad or other terror attacks. This is another example. But I think that the most part of that, or the nice part of that, is the training part. You can find lots of open source, not only on the internet and also Darknet. You can see lots of websites that are helping you, or helping the young terrorists to get trained, to get educated. For example, not how to use your weapons, your AK-47, how to build bombs, like you can see here. Very accurate instructions how to build bombs, how to do it in your house, in your garage. Another example, just use your own things from home, very simple materials in order to build bombs. And if you want to commit suicide, and if you want to perform some kind of terror attack, you just need to go to these websites or to Darknet, and just by that you can have the instructions for that. But the best website that I love to how to make a bomb, and will be the next website. And I'm saying that because my mother comes from Poland, and I always say that the food she make is like a bomb. It's like being a used food. So if you want to build a bomb in your mother kitchens, you can just go to this website, which his name is How to Make a Bomb in the Kitchen of Your Mother. And it's not only, I'm sure it's not speaking about my mother's food, but absolutely you can find here the menus and how to make a real bomb in your kitchen, in your own kitchen, with your own ingredients. And as a terrorist, you don't need to go outside to find people that you will tell you that in a way that security services can catch you. You do it in your home through the Darknet. Nobody can knows who you are, what you are, where are you traveling in Darknet. And this is an amazing way to get educated, to get trained before you're going to be a lone wolf.
May I add in this case?
Yes, please. Of course.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that this magazine is called Inspire and it's called was published by I think it's called AQAP, Al Qaeda in Arabian Peninsula. And when in the previous slide you can see that it's made by AQ Chef. It's Al Qaeda Chef. I mean,
Yes.
Totally Al Qaeda magazine that instruct you how to make it explosive in your kitchen, as Dr. Pinko said.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. The next phase is the intelligence gathering. Intelligence gathering, of course, everything is an open source, and the ability to go into websites, to social media, to gather information about your opponents is very easy. You can get it easily to take it. And I'm sorry for our listeners from the non-Hebrew speakers listener. I brought this as an example how Hamas is taking advantage of social media, is opening avatars, fake identities in social media, in LinkedIn, in Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. These are in the left side, upper left side, you can see the 8 ladies. They are all avatars being opened and operated by Hamas. They find very easily Israeli soldiers in Facebook and Instagram, because you can find easily Israeli soldiers that are writing there at the IDF. They're connected with them through this Instagram or Facebook channels, starting to speak with them, texting with them. After that, they are going to WhatsApp. In WhatsApp, they tell them, okay, there is an application that I love a lot. Just take this application, install it on your cell phone. The soldiers installed the application on the cell phone, and their cell phone became espionage tools in order to listening to tap to the soldiers when they are doing, etc., etc. So by avatars and by social engineering, manipulating soldiers to install applications, espionage application on their phones. So this is an example for that. And of course, gathering information, you can go to Google Maps. This is an example from Google Maps about Syria. It was used by ISIS to attack Russian and Syrian forces. Just by using Google Maps, you can see here, for example, the T-72 tanks and other Russian soldiers and forces in Syria. Another used by ISIS to attack in Syria, just by using Google Maps, nothing else. They don't need satellites, they don't need drones, just going into Google Maps. And of course, if I will speak about transportation, you can see here the marine traffic. Marine traffic, it's an application in the cell phone or in your computer that you can just pin out every ship in the world, where the ships are, where they're going to. You know, I was in the Navy, and the Navy, we're not calling a ship it, we're calling her. We are addressing it as a female, so we can understand where the ship is. And this application is being used by terrorists and by pirates in order to attack ships, to do pirate attacks. And the piracy is not a phenomenon that disappeared. It's only in the last year there were more than 250 pirates attack on ships, and this is a very amazing capability to ambush a ship when you know when she's going to come, and to attack the ship by that. It's open source for the public. And of course, on the other side, on the other end, you have another application for aircrafts. And if you are a terrorist that want to attack an aircraft with a manpad, with an anti-aircraft missile that shot from your shoulder, of course you can use it in order to understand where the aircraft can come, and just to wait for him on the right place in the right time. And just to combine and to take this intelligence, after that you just can go in that and to make another only by open source intelligence that being collected by terrorists. So last but not least is the cyber attack, and I will finish by that. You know, we are all connected to the network. And once upon a time, if you want to conquer a city, in the old days, to conquer a city, you just need to bring tanks and soldiers and aircrafts. Or maybe in the future, if we want to conquer a city, maybe it would look like that. In the movies, sometimes it looked like that, the way that we are conquering a city. But in our reality, in our real life, all the cities become more and more smart. There are lots of connectivity inside cities and inside the countries. Everything is being connected into one big reality, into one big network, especially when we speak about 5G networks, when we speak about Internet of Things, everything is being connected and the cities become one big entity. And everything is being dependent of that. The traffic lights, the energy, and energy, of course, is being, without energy, we can't do anything. And we see that in the States, in Israel, maybe in Europe, hackers, it doesn't matter if they are terrorists or hackers that being manipulated or being used or being operated by nation states like Russia, like China. Lots of attacks are being performed against power grids, against water systems, like the attack on Israel 3 or 2 months ago by Iranian hackers. Or we see a lot of cyber attacks against water in the Europe, in the US, and especially. So what I said is that hackers, it doesn't matter if they're being operated by states or by terrorists, understand that cities and energy and water, everything, they just can flood our cities by cyber attack. For example, here the water systems. And of course, speaking about energy, water, and other state capabilities, so part of very important of that is transportation, because transportation is the second driver for globalization. Not only internet or networks are the driver of globalization. So we see a lot of cyber attacks upon transportation, about shipping industry, and it is also a big and critical part of the cyber attacks. Another thing is the healthcare. Lots of cyber attacks against healthcare. And just imagine what a terror attack in the cyber domain can make to a healthcare. The world healthcare systems suffered from 2017 suffered from a lot of attacks on the healthcare system. Just see what is happening in the US in the last month or so. Just in the last week, three hospitals were under attack in the US of healthcare in order to shut down hospitals. And this is a very large phenomenon that is taking place in the last 3 years. So our education is online, the transportation, as I said before, and everything else is used by that. Speaking about that, just imagine that all our lives are being dependent on GPS, Waze, navigation systems, missiles, aircrafts. Everything is being dependent by GPS. And just if I am a terrorist, I would like to disrupt the everything that is surrounding me. I just can buy this box. It's in the size of the palm, and it's cost something like $45, and it can shut down all the GPS reception in the range of 50 kilometers from this box. 50 kilometers disruption of GPS. Just imagine that all your GPS are just shutting down in the best case scenario, but in the worst case scenario, you see your GPS reception, but in matter of fact, you're in different place. So when I speak about GPS jammer, it can shut down the GPS reception, or you can just see that you're in certain place, but the matter of fact, you're in different So this is has lots of effect, and the use of these machines or these tools in the hands of terrorists just can disrupt everything that we know: applications, cell phones, bank money transfers, and other things. So terrorists understand that the national infrastructure is pretty dependent on the cyber domain, on networks, and they understand that cyber attacks can shut down cities, countries, companies, and other entities. And the use of networks in order to attack and to perform attacks is very important for cyber, especially for terrorists in the cyber attacks. So who are the cyber terrorists? Cyber terrorists can be from nation state, as I said, like in the US, they see a lot of cyber attempts from Russia, from China, and from, not directly, but from organizations that are being manipulated or being operated by those states. They can be just terror organizations. You have wings or division of cyber divisions for every terror organization, like ISIS, Al Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, IRA. Every one of those terror organizations has its own cyber division. So they're operating them in order to be in silent mode and to attack under the radar. And other activists, we are calling them not activists, we are calling them activists. So they are activists that they are using hacking capabilities in order to manipulate and to influence. And of course, the lone wolves that can perform they don't need to only to go and murder people, they can also use the cyber domain to attack. So because of time shortage, I won't go into that deeply, but of course you can have the low skills of hackers and low-level hackers that can take cheap tools in order to use them, but also you can see nation states and terror organizations that are having a very big or very large capabilities in order to attack and to perform attacks against infrastructure. And as I said before, you can see many examples for that. The Syrian Electronic Army, a very good cyber division, which is not Syrian. They are sitting in the Maghreb countries, but they call themselves the Syrian Electronic Armies. You have the cyber division of ISIS, of the Tunisian Falanga, and lots of other attacking groups, Islamic groups, and other. Of course, Hezbollah, Hamas, other wings. So when we speak today about the new age of warfare, about new age of terrorism, we speak about the ability to perform hybrid warfare. This is the new age of warfare. It's not a normal warfare that we used to say or to speak about 5 years ago. It's a warfare that combines, that integrates the regular warfare that we know with maneuver, with militaries, but the major efforts in that are to perform soft warfare, which means using warfare that don't need to use military divisions, military units. They're using cyber effect, cyber domain influence campaigns. They're using cyber attacks in order to shut down national infrastructure, ports, transportation, healthcare system, economical system, and other systems. And of course, with a very big umbrella of diplomatic warfare and other soft support measures in order to attack. So we are in the age, welcome to the age of hybrid warfare, which being used not only by terrorists, but also by states in order not to act aggressively with militaries, but to use soft power like cyber in order to gain military, diplomatic, economical, and other achievements that they want to achieve without casualties, real casualties, but with a lot of other effects. If you have any question, I will be happy to ask, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much to listening to me. Tal, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Pinko, for this profound, interesting, and enriching lecture. of yours. I was glad to hear and be enriched with your presentation, and to hear echoes of items that I teach my students. So it was very good. Do you have any questions from the audience? Any questions from the audience? Someone would like to ask something, Dr. Pinko?
Good.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned a slide of Flight Radar 24, and it's reminded me that several years ago I gave a lecture at the Israeli aircraft industry, and I showed this example of Flight Radar, and that was, a bit more relevant Israeli aircraft industries. And I remember that there was a lady at the audience that was a bit amazed and shocked and said, well, you are a danger person. And I said, listen, it's not me. It's not my application. I only revealing you what it exists. She was amazed from the ability to see almost every fly that exists on Earth. And I have several documentation of even non-civilian airplanes
Yes.
and jets
Yes.
that been
Yes.
that I tracked. I would like to ask you something, and it was really covered a wide range of topic, very interestingly and profoundly, about do you see any change in terrorist activity and online terrorist activity in the, let's call it, the post-Islamic State era? Because in the past, let's say past a year and a half, or 2 years, we do not have anymore the Islamic State organization as state, as an organization, as an organization that have control over a state or lands. Do you see any kind of change? Well, do we have now, let's say, something like more lone wolves? Is there any change in the operation of online, perhaps cyber capabilities after the, let's call it, the collapse of the the Islamic State organization?
Yeah. First, I think that ISIS and the Islamic State didn't disappear. I think the story of disappearing of the ISIS, it's mainly a story that the West is telling to himself about the disappearance of that. The fact that ISIS is not really now in large dimension in Syria and Iraq, it doesn't mean that it's not living anymore. So there are groups of militants of ISIS in Syria and Iraq trying to fight. But when you go to the West, first you see a lot of ISIS forces in Egypt, in the Sinai Desert. You can see a lot of ISIS operatives in the Maghreb countries, like in Libya, and they are still fighting. And you can see a lot of ISIS operative in Europe, in the Balkan area, in the center of Europe. So ISIS is living, and I think that the last example from Austria is just presenting us the fact that ISIS didn't die, is still living, is still kicking, but it went a lot below the radar. It's not like he has, like in Iraq, he's now on oil rigs and lands. He's now is keep on living below the radar, just educate lone wolves, radicalized people, and they are doing a very good job, I think, unfortunately, or sadly say that. But ISIS is still alive, and I think it's time that the West will wake up and say and understand there is a real problem with ISIS, and it's still over there.
Yeah, and what about those lone wolves? Two questions. First of all, do we have terrorist activists, or online terrorist activists currently that are not related to Islamic organizations? Well, as you mentioned, in the past, in the 70s, we had the Italian Red Brigades, Japanese Red Army, by the mind of Germany, but even in South America, and I think it's called the Shining Path. But
Yes.
currently, do we have any kind of terrorist organizations that are not in those days motivated by Islamic ideology?
Yes, absolutely. Not all the activists are Islamic or radical Islam. Sorry. You can find white power in black power. For take it for in the U.S.,
Yeah.
their presence in the network is very high. They're using the networks, high white power, black power, in order to influence Native African Americans and other white activists, very right-wing activists are using these networks. Anonymous, it's not only Islamic organization. You can see a lot of anonymous activists from Mexico, from the US, from South America, from the Scandinavian countries. They are not only of them are Muslims. So it's not being used by only one religious. It's not belong to one religious. It's spread all over. And the activists, everyone connects to it, the one that he wants to get involved with.
Yeah. Well, I wrote myself several more questions about the connection between crime and cyber, and we have the Nigerian sting and the alleged connection with physical terrorists in Africa. But I'm afraid that we don't have much more times, and we have, well, I have a lot of more questions. Do we have any questions from the audience, from the attendees? Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's my pleasure and my honor to have you with us at Subtox number 4. And you are all most welcome to join us on the 5th edition. We will have Dr. Nineta Polemi, Substitute Associate Professor from University of Piraeus in Greece. Thank you very much, and stay safe and healthy. Thank you once again. Dr.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. It was really interesting.
Thank you.